In this video, you're going to discover the principles that can completely transform the way you see money. Maybe you think that wealth depends only on earning a higher salary, finding the perfect investment, or having a lot of luck. But according to the teachings inspired by Robert Kiyosaki, all of that comes after something much more important: your mindset. Throughout this video, you'll learn 8 principles that can change your relationship with money. We'll talk about how to develop the right mindset, understand the rules of the financial game, pay yourself first, make money work for you, think like an investor, understand the difference between good and bad debt, use tax knowledge in your favor, and build multiple income sources to achieve true financial freedom. But it all starts with the first principle. The first step is to change your mindset about money. Many people believe that wealth begins when their salary increases. Robert Kiyosaki teaches exactly the opposite. For him, wealth begins when the way of thinking changes. Think of 2 people who earn exactly the same salary. One of them manages to invest, build assets, and improve their life over the years. The other stays trapped in the same financial cycle, even while working hard every day. What explains this difference? Most of the time, the answer lies in mindset. From childhood, many people grow up hearing phrases like, "Money is the root of all problems. The rich only get rich by exploiting others." That's not for people like us. What matters is having a secure job, or "Whoever is born poor will die poor." The problem is that when a person hears this type of thinking for many years, they start to believe that this is the only possible reality. Without realizing it, they begin to reject opportunities, avoid learning about investments, feel afraid of entrepreneurship, and believe that building wealth is something reserved only for other people. Robert Kiyosaki often says that money only amplifies what you already are. If you have knowledge, discipline, and good financial decisions, more money tends to amplify those qualities. But if you don't know how to manage resources, earning more won't always solve your problems. That's why the first change needs to happen inside your mind. You need to stop seeing money only as something used to pay bills and start seeing it as a tool. Money buys time. Money creates opportunities. Money allows you to invest in knowledge. Money offers more freedom to choose where to work, who to work with, and how to live. This doesn't mean money is the main goal in life. It means understanding that it can be a powerful instrument when used intelligently. Imagine a person who believes they will never be able to get rich. Even when a good opportunity comes up, they find reasons to give up before starting. They say it's too risky, that they weren't born for it, or that someone like them will never succeed. Now imagine another person who believes they can learn. She doesn't know everything. She also feels fear. She also faces difficulties. But instead of saying, "I can't," she asks, "What do I need to learn to be able to do it?" That simple change of question completely transforms the direction of a life. Whoever asks, "Why can I never succeed?" finds excuses. Whoever asks, "How can I improve?" starts finding paths. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that financial education begins exactly at this moment, when you stop believing that money controls your life and start understanding that you can learn to control it. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. Changing your mindset requires repetition. It requires study. It requires contact with people who think differently. It requires abandoning beliefs that have limited you for years. But every great transformation begins with a decision. The decision to stop repeating thoughts that keep you stuck. The decision to believe that wealth can be learned. The decision to understand that financial education is not a privilege for the few, but a skill that any person can develop with dedication. So I want you to do a simple exercise. Ask yourself, which phrases about money did I hear during my childhood that I still believe today? Could any of them be holding back my growth? Am I still saying that money is hard, investing is complicated, that's not for me, or it's too late to start. If these phrases are still part of your life, maybe the first investment you need to make isn't in stocks, real estate, or businesses. Maybe the first investment is in the way you think, because all wealth is built twice, first in the mind, then in reality. And when you change the way you think, you start making different decisions. Those decisions create new habits. Those habits build assets. And over time, those assets can offer what so many people search for their whole lives: freedom to make choices. This is the first step. Before conquering wealth in your pocket, build wealth in your mindset. Because a person with the right mindset can rebuild their assets even after losing money. But a person with the wrong mindset can lose any fortune they receive. And in the next point, you'll understand why learning the rules of the money game can be the difference between working your whole life just for a salary or starting to build assets that work for you. Sure, here's a soft call to action for the ebook with a tone of value and support, without sounding like a sales pitch. Before moving on to the next point, I want to leave something important for you who are taking this subject seriously. If you feel you need to better organize your financial life, understand where your money is going, and start planning your next steps with more clarity, I've prepared an ebook that can help with this journey. It was created for those who don't just want to watch content about money, but want to start putting ideas on paper, see their own situation with more awareness, and take firmer steps toward financial freedom. Because many people even want to change, but end up lost. They don't know where to start, don't know how to organize goals, don't know how to look at their salary strategically, and end up repeating the same habits every month. This material was made precisely to help you get out of this confusion and start building a clearer plan. The link will be pinned in the comments. Access it while it's still available and use this content as support to organize your goals, your expenses, your next investments in knowledge, and the decisions you need to make from now on. Don't let this learning stay only in the video. Get the ebook, study it calmly, and start turning information into action. Now yes, let's move on to the next point. The second step is to learn the rules of the money game. After changing your mindset, the next step is to understand that money works like a game. And, as in any game, whoever doesn't know the rules ends up playing poorly, even when trying hard. Imagine a person entering a chess match without knowing how the pieces move. She may have willpower, may be excited, may want to win, but if she doesn't understand the rules, she'll make simple mistakes and miss important opportunities. The same thing happens with money. Many people work hard, receive a salary every month, and do the best they can, but they never learned the basic rules of money. They don't know what cash flow is, don't understand the difference between assets and liabilities, don't know how to calculate return on investment, don't understand the risks of debt, and don't realize how small financial habits can decide their future. So they end up living by improvisation. They receive their salary and spend it. They make purchases without calculating the impact. They take on installments without understanding the weight of interest. They save money without knowing if it's losing value over time. They invest based on other people's tips without understanding where they're putting their own money. And when something goes wrong, they say money is too complicated. But often the problem isn't that money is impossible to understand. The problem is that no one taught these rules in a simple way. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that one of the biggest differences between the rich and the poor lies in financial education. Rich people learn how money moves. They learn how assets generate income. They learn how businesses work. They learn how to use money to build more money. Meanwhile, many people spend their whole lives learning only how to work for money. They know how to wake up early, keep a schedule, follow orders, and wait for payment at the end of the month. But they don't know how to turn part of that payment into wealth. It's like someone who knows how to carry bricks but never learned how to build a house. The effort exists, but strategy is missing. That's why you need to learn the rules of the game. The first rule is to understand cash flow. Cash flow is simply the path money takes in your life. How much comes in, how much goes out, and where it goes. If you earn money but everything disappears before the end of the month, there's a problem in your cash flow. The second rule is to understand assets and liabilities. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. This idea seems simple, but it completely changes the way you see purchases, investments, and debts. The third rule is to understand return on investment. Before putting money into something, you need to ask, what can this generate in return? Can it generate income? Can it increase my knowledge? Can it improve my ability to earn more? Can it strengthen my financial future? The fourth rule is to understand risk. Every financial path carries some kind of risk. The risk of investing without studying, the risk of leaving all your money idle, the risk of depending on only one salary, the risk of taking on debt without planning. Whoever understands risk doesn't act out of fear, but also doesn't act naively. The fifth rule is to understand leverage. Leverage is using resources, knowledge, time, technology, or money intelligently to amplify results. A person who learns a valuable skill is using mental leverage. A person who creates a digital product is using internet leverage. A person who invests in assets is using capital leverage over time. When you start to understand these rules, you stop making decisions based only on emotion. Before buying something, you analyze. Before investing, you study. Before taking on debt, you calculate. Before spending your entire salary, you set part of it aside for the future. And here's an important point. You don't need to learn everything at once. No one starts out mastering the whole game. What you need is to build the habit of studying money every day. It can be reading a book, watching a class, tracking your expenses, studying investments, understanding how businesses work, or learning to better manage your own salary. Even 20 or 30 minutes a day can make a difference. Because a mind that studies money starts to notice things that used to go unnoticed. You start to realize that an installment purchase may seem small, but can compromise your freedom for months. You realize that a salary increase can be wasted if expenses increase along with it. You realize that saving money without investing it may not be enough if inflation is reducing your purchasing power. You realize that a skill can be as valuable as an investment because it can increase your income for the rest of your life. That's the difference between playing in the dark and playing with awareness. Whoever doesn't know the rules depends on luck. Whoever knows the rules makes better decisions. And of course, even those who study can make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes at some point, but there's a big difference between making a mistake out of total lack of knowledge and making a mistake while learning, adjusting, and improving. Financial education doesn't eliminate all risks, but it reduces many costly mistakes. So the second step is this. Learn the rules of the money game. Don't accept living just by receiving a salary and paying bills without understanding how money really works. Start studying cash flow, assets, liabilities, investments, risks, debts, and income sources. Because the more you understand the game, the better you play. And when you learn to play better, you stop being just someone who works for money and start becoming someone capable of making money work in your favor. The third step is to pay yourself first. After understanding the rules of the money game, you need to apply a simple but powerful rule. As soon as you get paid, set aside part of your salary for your future. Most people do the opposite. They receive money, pay bills, buy what they want, cover the month's expenses, and only then think about saving or investing. The problem is that when the month ends, there's almost never anything left. That's why Robert Kiyosaki teaches that whoever wants to build wealth needs to change the order. Instead of investing what's left over, you set aside a portion first to build assets and then organize the rest. You don't need to start with a huge amount. It can be 5%, 10%, or whatever fits your reality. What matters is creating the habit of putting your future among your first priorities. Imagine that you receive your salary and, before any spending, transfer a part to a separate account, an investment, or a financial goal. That money stops being ordinary money and takes on a mission to buy assets, build a reserve, finance knowledge, or strengthen your freedom. This attitude also teaches discipline. When you set money aside first, you learn to live more consciously with the rest. You start cutting waste, thinking more before spending, and giving more value to the money that comes in. The third step is this: when you get paid, pay yourself first. Don't wait for what's left over. Set a part aside before consumption takes it all away. Because whoever always pays themselves last rarely builds wealth. But whoever turns their own future into a priority starts to change their financial life month after month. The fourth step is to make money work for you. After paying yourself first, the next step is to give that money an intelligent purpose. It's not enough to just set aside part of your salary and leave it sitting with no direction. The goal is to turn that money into assets. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that the difference between those who stay trapped by their salary and those who start building freedom lies exactly in this. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich learn to make money work for them. This means buying or building things that generate income. It can be an investment that pays dividends, a property that generates rent, a small business, a digital product, royalties, a stake in something productive, or any asset that puts money in your pocket over time. The idea isn't to get rich overnight. The idea is to start small and keep growing. At first, maybe your assets generate little. Then, with discipline, study, and reinvestment, they can grow. Imagine that every month you buy a small piece of your freedom. At first, it seems like little, but over time that starts to form a foundation. One day, that income might help pay a bill. Later, it might cover part of your expenses. And in the future, it could become an important source of security. The fourth step is this: use the money you've set aside to build assets. Don't let it all disappear into immediate consumption, because when you only buy liabilities, you need to keep working harder and harder. But when you start buying assets, you take the first step toward making money work for you too. Before moving on to the next step, I need to remind you of something important. In the pinned comments, I've left access to the ebook I prepared to help you better organize your financial life, use your salary more intelligently, and start taking real steps to get out of the rat race. Because it's not enough to just hear about financial freedom and then keep repeating the same habits every month. Whoever wants to break that cycle needs to study, understand the money game, and apply the knowledge in practice. This material was made exactly for that, to help you better see your expenses, your goals, your decisions, and the path you need to follow to start building a stronger financial life. The last units are still available at the link pinned in the comments. So access it while there's still time, read it carefully, and use this content as a guide to start acting with more clarity. The rat race doesn't end on its own. It starts to fall behind when you learn, apply, and make different decisions with your money. Now yes, let's move on to the next step. The fifth step is to think like a capitalist, not just like an employee. After understanding that money needs to work for you comes an important shift. Stop thinking only like someone who trades time for money and start thinking like someone who builds or buys assets. The employee thinks, how many hours do I need to work to get paid? The capitalist thinks, what system, asset, or business can generate income even when I'm not present all the time? This doesn't mean despising a job. A salary can be an important tool at the start. The problem is depending on it forever, because if all your income depends on your daily presence, your freedom stays limited. Even a person who earns well can be vulnerable if they have only one source of income. If they stop working, the income stops too. That's why Robert Kiyosaki teaches that the goal isn't just to earn more, but to turn part of the money into assets that keep producing. Thinking like a capitalist means asking, how can I create something that works beyond my time? It can be an online business, an investment, a property, a digital product, a consulting service, a stake in a project, or any structure that can generate income over time. The fifth step is this. Use your salary as a starting point, not as the final destination, because whoever thinks only like an employee lives tied to the clock. But whoever learns to think like an asset builder starts moving toward financial freedom. The sixth step is to understand the difference between bad debt and good debt. After starting to think like an asset builder, you need to understand something that separates many people from financial freedom. Not all debt is the same. There is bad debt and there is good debt. Bad debt is debt that takes money out of your pocket and builds nothing for the future. It's often born from impulse purchases, unplanned installments, items that quickly lose value, or expenses made just to look good in other people's eyes. The person buys today, feels happy for a few minutes, but then spends months paying interest. And the more installments pile up, the less freedom they have. Their salary lands in the account, but part of it no longer belongs to them. It goes straight to old debts. Good debt, on the other hand, when used wisely, can help buy or build assets that generate income. For example, well-planned debt to acquire a property that pays rent, expand a profitable business, or invest in something that truly increases your ability to generate money. But be careful. Good debt is not an excuse to go take out loans without thinking. Robert Kiyosaki talks about using debt intelligently, but that requires study, emotional control, risk analysis, and planning. Whoever uses debt without knowledge can turn an opportunity into a trap. So before taking on any debt, ask, will this put money in my pocket or take money from me every month? Does this buy an asset or just finance a momentary desire? Do I understand the risks or am I acting out of emotion? The sixth step is this. Avoid debts that finance liabilities, and be very careful when using debt to build assets, because bad debt keeps you trapped in the rat race. But well-studied debt, used with discipline and strategy, can become a tool to accelerate the building of wealth. The seventh step is to study taxes strategically. After understanding the difference between bad debt and good debt, you need to learn another point that many people ignore. Taxes. Most people just complain about taxes. They complain that they pay too much, that little is left over, that everything is expensive, but they never stop to study how the system works. Meanwhile, whoever thinks about building wealth seeks to understand the rules in a legal and intelligent way. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that the rich don't just complain about the game, they study the game. They seek to understand laws, incentives, deductions, business structures, and legal ways to better organize their money. This doesn't mean doing anything wrong. On the contrary, it means acting within the law, but with knowledge. Imagine two people earning the same amount. One understands nothing about taxes, mixes personal money with business money, doesn't record important expenses, doesn't organize herself, and ends up paying more due to lack of planning. The other studies, organizes documents, understands what can be legally deducted, separates accounts, seeks professional guidance, and makes decisions more strategically. Over time, this difference can be enormous. Tax knowledge isn't just for big business owners. Anyone who wants to grow financially needs to understand at least the basics. If you have a business, invest, provide services, sell something, or intend to build wealth, you need to know how taxes affect your decisions. The seventh step is this. Stop seeing taxes only as something to complain about and start seeing them as an area of study. The more you understand the rules, the more prepared you'll be to protect your money, organize your investments, and make better decisions. Because whoever doesn't know the rules pays the price of ignorance. But whoever studies, gets organized, and seeks proper guidance can build wealth much more efficiently. The 8th step is to build multiple income sources and keep learning. The last step to get out of the rat race is to stop depending on a single source of income. Depending only on a salary is like a table with a single leg. As long as that leg holds, everything seems fine. But if it breaks, the whole structure falls. That's what happens when a person depends solely on their job, their salary, or a single stream of money. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that whoever seeks financial freedom needs to build different income sources. Not because they should abandon their job all at once, but because they need to create more security and more options for the future. One source can be a salary, another can be a small business, another can be an investment, another can be a rented property, another can be consulting, another can be a digital product, a course, a book, royalties, a web page, or any asset that generates money over time. At first, maybe these income streams will be small, maybe one source earns little, maybe another takes time to grow. But what matters is starting, because a person who creates a second income source already starts depending less on just one stream. Imagine someone who receives a salary every month but also starts providing a service on weekends, then uses part of that money to invest. Over time, learns to sell better, creates a simple product online, and starts generating another income. This person still works, still faces challenges, but is no longer standing on a single leg. She begins to build more stability. But there's one thing that sustains all of this: ongoing financial education. Whoever stops learning starts making old decisions in a world that keeps changing. So keep studying money, business, investments, taxes, sales, communication, and skills that increase your value. Financial education is protection against costly mistakes. It helps you avoid falling for easy promises, avoid taking on bad debt, avoid investing without understanding, and avoid depending only on luck. During this video, you learned 8 important steps. First, change your mindset about money. Second, learn the rules of the financial game. Third, pay yourself first. Fourth, make money work for you. Fifth, think like a capitalist, not just like an employee. Sixth, understand the difference between bad debt and good debt. Seventh, study taxes strategically. And eighth, build multiple income sources while continuing to learn. True wealth is not born only from earning more. It's born from thinking better, acting better, and using money more intelligently. So don't let this video be just another piece of content you watched. Take one idea and put it into practice today. Set aside part of your salary. Study a new subject. Organize your finances. Read the ebook I left in the pinned comments while the last units are still available. Start building a new income source. If you want to get out of the rat race, you need to learn, apply, and repeat. If this video made sense to you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also needs to learn how to make money work. And write in the comments, "I will get out of the rat race." Make that phrase a commitment to your future, because whoever keeps learning and acting with discipline gradually starts to build a financial life with more freedom, security, and choices.